This is Cheap Joker coming at you. Today's April 23rd, 2018. Going to be making a video on the removal of the rear tire. As you can see from the tread, I need a new tire. I've got one coming and figured we'd make a video on it. First, we're going to take the saddlebags off. As you can see, I've already got the saddlebags off. And I've also removed the muffler on the left-hand side. And let me show you what all there is a bolt right here. Alright, the first thing we want to do is remove the Eclip. And you can see it. I'm going to try to point it out to you. Right there, that little clip. I'm going to remove that. And we should be able to. Okay, what I'm doing now is I'm taking the axle nut off. Now I've already broke it. Took me a little bit to get that taken care of, but that takes off. I made a couple lines here. This is where these two lines, and if I can get it in, let me try to zoom in for you. You see that right there? That little, they call that I believe the boss. Now before I actually loosen that nut up, I marked the lines where that line was lined up with the top part and the bottom one was lined up on the bottom part of that. And I did it for the other side as well. So I've got that loose, and now I'm going to tap the axle through, and that should release the wheel. Okay, as you can see, I tapped the axle through. However, the saddlebag guard is preventing it from coming all the way out. So I'm going to have to loosen 2 bolts down here, and probably loosen the one up here, and at least lower the guard so I can get that axle off. Alright, I just removed the axle from the wheel. Right there's the axle. I had to unbolt the saddlebag bracket to just kind of raise it up a little bit to get the axle out. There's spacers. It's going to be, I'm going to try to get this on tape right here. Once I maneuver the wheel and get this brake bracket out, you'll be able to see that. There's one also on this side as well. I'm going to try to, right in there, if you can see it, blur right in there. I'll try to show that after they fall out. There are the 2 spacers. One's for the right hand side, which is a thinner one, and then for the left hand side, this is the one. So, all right. Basically, move the wheel forward and remove the belt from the sprocket. Just getting this caliper up off the rotor, but once you get that up off the rotor, the wheel comes right out. So all I have to do is pull this wheel out. There you have it. I've removed the tire from the motorcycle. What we're going to do is we're going to assemble the rear wheel and the brake caliper back to the bike. We've got the tire sort of lined up. We've got the brake caliper on, sort of lined up as well. We've got the belt back on, the sprocket. Tire's loose. We haven't put the axle through. Before you do that, put some anti-seize grease on the axle. And remember, we have a spacer. It's going to be on the right-hand side. Spacer, it's going to be on the left-hand side. And as we're inserting the axle, all right, the trick is to before lining the wheel up with the axle holes, is to try to put your spacer in there beforehand, and then you can slide the axle through. So I've got the spacer, and the fat part of the spacer is going to be out, away from the bike. gotta get the we gotta get it in just more so it's flush against this swing arm. And we're gonna put our cam on. Our cam has a flat spot on it, and these were the marks that I had initially put on there. So this represents the outside going away from the bike. So what we're gonna do, this cam is gonna look identical to the other side cam, and that's where these marks come in. We are placing a thin, a little bit Van Nuys grease on the inside of the cone nut, according to the service manual. And keep in mind, it says do not get any on the threads. And what we want to do is we want to make sure this cam plate is up against the swing arm. Same thing with this side. Put this on. According to the service manual, what you want to do, right here, that's the weld nub, and it tells you to make sure that your cam is up against it. Now on both sides. Once you're going to tighten this nut, which is on the right hand side, which is takes a 36 millimeter socket to 15 to 20 foot-pounds of torque. All right. Alright, 15 to 20 pounds. Usually this is going to be tightened to about 100 foot-pounds. But now from here, you're going to lower the bike to ground. Now I'm turning the left-hand side of the axle, turning it to where my lines are going to match up with the weld nub, which is this nub, and that line should match the top. This line should match with the bottom. As you can notice, the wheel will be moving back, putting tension on the belt. Alright. And we are just about right there. Looks to be good. We'll check on the other side. The other side looks good as well. We'll show you this side. See, my lines are lined up with the wheel, with the weld nub. What we're doing right now is we're going to check the belt deflection. We're using this gauge, this tool. Basically what it's going to do is put 10 pounds of pressure on the belt, and from there you're going to measure how far the belt travels. In the service manual, with the bike being on the ground with no rider on it, it's 5/16 to 3/8. So I've got this rubber gasket measuring the 3/8 mark, and so 5/16 would be just shy of that. And this rubber gasket at the bottom is going to be the 10 pounds of pressure. So when I push up on this, that gasket should be flush with the yellow part. And then that's when I measure against the ruler. Right now the bottom of the belt appears to be on the 7-inch mark. So we're going to add our 10 pounds of pressure, which is right there. And it looks to be 1, 2, 3/8 of an inch, right on the money. So this belt is at proper tension, and now what we're going to do is tighten up the axle cone nut. But when we do that, we got to make sure we don't move or adjust the weld nut, because if we do that, we have to start all over again. What we're doing here is I'm securing the weld nut. Make sure it doesn't move. He's going to be turning the right-hand side cone nut as soon as I tell him, and I'm going to hold this steady because if this moves, it throws our belt tension off. All right, we have the wheel installed. as you can see, let's install. I lifted it up just to show you that it does turn. And we just got to put our Eclip back in. See if I can do this. There we go. And we're set. That is the installation of a rear tire. Now pretty much I got to put the mufflers back on, put the saddlebag brackets back on, tightening everything up.